welcome to another exciting episode of Mr. Cook's English class. Today's episode is brought to you by the literary element, point of view. Today, not only will we be able to define point of view, but you'll be able to identify the four main types of point of view in writing. Before we begin, we must first analyze the definition of point of view.
When being used in literature, the definition for point of view is the viewpoint which the author uses to narrate a piece of writing to allow the readers to hear and see what takes place in a story, poem, essay, or any piece of writing.
Now that we successfully defined point of view, let's take a look at your first main point of view. The first one is the first person point of view. This is your easiest one. The way this looks in writing is using words like I. Let's take a look at what exactly that would look like through an example.
If we look at the example for first person point of view, it says, when Johnny and I went to the store, I thought about how much I wanted pizza for dinner, but he kept telling me that he wanted Chinese. The key words to know if its point of view is in first person is the word I. The narrator is actually part of the story. We know that I is the person talking and the other character is Johnny. We also know what that person is thinking because it's in his mind. He is telling the story. The narrator is part of the story and we see the words I.
Alright, so that was our first main point of view. That was first person point of view. Now we're going to take a look at one of our three different types of third person point of view. First of all, for a third-person point of view, all the time our narrator is going to be outside of the story. It is not going to be a character. We're going to be able to identify this by seeing words like he, she, the character's name. It's not going to use the word I at all. The first third-person point of view we're going to look at is third-person objective. The key part to remember about this subjective point of view is that we're only seeing actions, no thoughts. We don't know the thoughts or feelings of any of our characters. So let's take a look and see what this would actually look like in a writing passage.
Now let's take a look at our example for third-person objective point of view. After school, Johnny went home and ate lunch while playing Call of Duty. In this example, we can tell that the narrator is not part of the story. It's also not in first person because we don't see the words I. We actually know that somebody else is telling the story about Johnny, and it's objective because we only see what he's doing. We actually do not know what he's thinking or what he's feeling.
Alright, so that means we only have two different types of point of view to go over next. The next one is third person limited. The way I want you to think about this is that you are limited to one person's point of view, one person's thoughts, one person's feelings. The narrator is still outside of the story, like we said with all third person point of views. But because the narrator's out of the story and because we're limited to one character, we only know that character's thoughts and feelings about the other characters and the world around them. Let's take a look at how this looks through an actual passage.
Looking at our example for third-person limited point of view, while Mr. Cook was teaching his English class, Jason sat in his chair thinking about the new skateboard he wanted to buy. This is third-person limited because, again, the narrator is outside of the story. We hear that Jason is our main subject, our main character, and we know what he is thinking about. In third person limited, the narrator is outside the story, and we only know the thoughts and feelings of one character. In this case, it's Jason. We know what he's thinking about during Mr. Cook's lesson.
Okay, so not only have we looked at first person point of view, we looked at third person objective, third person limited, and that just leaves one more main point of view. We're going to actually go over third person omniscient. And the thing about third person omniscient is it's kind of the all-knowing I. This is where, again, because it's third person, the narrator's outside of the story, and the narrator knows all. Instead of it being limited, like third person limited, to just one character's thoughts and feelings, we know everything. We know all the character's thoughts, all the character's feelings, and sometimes once in a while, we might find out what will happen next. Let's take a look at how this actually looks in writing.
Lastly, we have an example of third-person omniscient. While Mr. Cook was teaching his English class, Jason was thinking about his new skateboard, and Clara was thinking about the lesson being taught. Little did Jason know that Mr. Cook had a pop quiz at the end of the lesson. Now, if we were to take a look back at this example, We could tell it's third person omniscient because we know the thoughts and the feelings of all characters. We also can see at the end that there's something being told that's going to happen in the future. Mr. Cook had a pop quiz at the end of the lesson. Little did he know. That was the key word to understanding this. That little did he know that in the future there's going to be a pop quiz at the end of the lesson. So the narrator knows everything, even events that happen in the future. Again, we know the thoughts and feelings of all characters. We can tell that Jason was thinking about his skateboard, and Clara was actually thinking about the lesson, focusing in class. Again, third person omniscient, narrators outside the story, and we know all thoughts, all feelings of all characters.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the classroom.